Hey guys, hello everyone. Hope you all are fine and healthy. I hope you all are following the series of my lecture, and if you have any types of doubts and clarification till yet, you can reach us. So let's see today's topic, and that is C++ classes and objects. Let's dive in this lecture and understand this wonderful concept. Firstly, we should see what is classes and objects in C++. Till now, whatever we have done, that was procedural oriented programming. That is, C++ supports two types of programming, procedural oriented programming and object oriented programming. And in this lecture, we are going to cover object oriented programming, that is C++ classes and objects. In simple terms, let us understand what the class is. Suppose you want to differentiate between two persons. You can do this on the basis of their height, weight, skin color, and some actions like their behavior and all. So for this, you can make a class named person and add these data members and actions in it. See, C++ is a multi-programming language. That means it supports different programming styles. One of the popular ways to solve programming problem is by creating object, and that is known as object-oriented style of programming. C++ supports object-oriented style, which allow you to divide complex problem into smaller sets by creating objects. Object is simply a collection of data and function that act on those data. So let us get the clear idea what it is. So before we create an object, we need to define a class. We can say that a class is a blueprint of the object. Suppose for building a house, firstly we need the whole sketch, that is the structure of the house with all the details in it, that is about the floor, doors, window, etc. And based on these we build the house. So here the house is the object and the sketch of the house is a class. Like, you can build as many houses with the same description. Similarly, we can create as many objects from a same class. Now comes is how to define a class, that is class definition. It can be done by using the keyword class followed by the name of the class and then the body of the class. It's defined inside the curly brackets and terminated by a semicolon. See the syntax I have mentioned here. Let's see one example of defining a class. Here I have defined the class named person and it contains two data member, that is num1 and num2 of int data type, and two member functions, function1 and function2. These functions are doing their specific task, that is what you will give they will perform that. Like the function1, here I have assigned some value to num1 data type and similarly for function2. But now the main matter is, here you can see two keywords, that is private and public. So what is the use of these keywords? So let's see why they are here and what are their uses. The private keyword makes the data and function private. That is, these data and functions can only be accessed only from inside the class. We cannot access the data and function which are mentioned in private from outside the class. And the public keyword makes the data and member function public. Public data functions can be accessed from outside the class also. In the previous example, the data type num1 and num2 are private data members, whereas function1 and function2 are the public member function. You can't access the private data from outside the class, and this is the feature of object oriented programming is called data hiding. There is one more keyword that is protected that I have not mentioned here, but you should know this. This is just similar to private keyword. The class member declared as protected are inaccessible outside the class, but they can be accessed by any subclass, that is derived class, that we will be seeing later. So these three keywords, private, public and protected, are called class access specifiers. Now let's see what the C++ object is. Since we know how to define a class, so now there should be a question in your mind, that is, how should you access the data members and member functions of the class? And for that, there is term called objects. So to use the data and accessing function inside of the class, we need to create object. See the syntax, that how to declare the object. Class name space object name followed by the semicolon. See, we have declared the class person previously. So for that class here, I have declared the object of the person class O1 and O2 are the two objects of the class person. Now since we know how to define a class and how to declare an object of that class, so now the matter is how should we use the object to accessing the data members and member function of that particular class. That is how we will use this object to access the that member that which is mentioned in the class. We can access the data members and member function by using a dot operator. See here, the dot operator. You can access the member function and data member by using the dot operator. Focus on the syntax here. O2 dot function 1. This will call the function 1 of the class. Similarly, O1 dot num2 equals to 7.5. You can assign the values to the data member like this. You can access the data members and member function in this way. One thing is to be noted here that the private member cannot be accessed from outside the class. They can be accessed inside the class only. Let's see one sample example to get the more clear idea. In this example program, num1 and num2 are the data members and of int and float data type respectively, and two member functions get integer data and insert float data are defined under person class. Two objects O1 and O2 of the same class are declared. Here two objects are there, O1 and O2. The get integer function is called for the object O1, like O1 dot get integer data 12. 12 is passed as argument here. So this sets the value of num1 data type for object O1 to 12, means num1 will be assigned to 12. The insert float data function for object 2 is called, and the return value for the function is stored in a variable second data of object 2, like second data of object 2 equals to O2 dot insert float data. So likewise it will get executed and produce the respective result. See the output part. Here I have given the written explanation also. So pause the video and go through it. So this was a very simple program to get the clear idea of how to access the class and how to access the member of function of it. Now comes the C++ constructors, that is constructors in C++. It is the special type of member function that initializes an object automatically when it is created. Compiler identifies that a given member function is a constructor by its name. Constructor has the same name as that of the class. This is very important part. Constructor has the same name as that of the class and it does not have any return type. The constructor is always public. So these were some of the special characteristics of the constructor that the one should know. Let's see one example that how to declare a constructor in a class. In this example, class temp is defined and x and y are the data members. And see here, the constructor is being defined in the public access specifier. It has same name as that of the class, that is temp, then parenthesis, and has initialized both the data members in the constructor. So this is how the constructor is defined. Now, how the constructor works. In the previous example code, temp was a constructor. So what does the constructor do? When an object of class temp will be created, the constructor is called automatically and x and is initialized to 5 and y is initialized to 4.7. There is one alternate method also to define a constructor, and that is temp parenthesis followed by semicolon, then the x in bracket and value, here temp parenthesis followed by the colon, not semicolon, see, followed by the colon, then the x in bracket the value you want to assign to x, then comma y, and the same that is in bracket the value you want to assign to y. After that the curly brackets. Let's see one sample program to understand it more clearly. This program will calculate the area of rectangle. Class area is created with two data members, length and breadth, and the constructor is defined to initialize length to 8 and breadth to 20. See here, the second method has been used to define the constructor. There are three member functions that are getLength, area calculation, display area. To get the length from the user, to calculate the area, and to display the area respectively. Two objects A1 and A2 are created, and when they are created, the length and breadth are automatically initialized to 8 and 2 respectively because of the constructor. Then the member function getLength is invoked, which takes the value of length and breadth from the user for the object A1. This changes the length and breadth of the object A1. Then the area for the object A1 is calculated and stored in the variable temp by calling function area calculation, and finally it is displayed. It displays the area. For object A2, no data has been asked from the user, so the length and breadth remains 8 and 20 respectively. 8 and 20 respectively. Okay, and we got the respective outputs. See the output screen here, the output part. You will get the clear idea. For this also, I have given the written explanation, so pause the video and go through it once. So the next and last topic of this lecture is C++ destructor. It is just opposite to the constructor and also a special member function. Unlike constructors that are used to initializing an object, destructors destroys, that is, delete the object. Similar to constructor, the destructor name should exactly match with the class name, and for declaring the destructor, it should always begin with the tilde symbol. See the syntax. Tilde is symbol followed by class name, then parenthesis, and then inside the curly braces some piece of code you want to write. So when does the destructor get called? It is called automatically when the program finished execution. When the scope, the curly brackets operator, that is parameter containing local variable ends, and when you call the delete operator. So there are some rules also related to destructor and data. Name should begin with the tilde sign and must match the class name. This I have already told. There cannot be more than one destructor in class. You can only mention one destructor in the whole class. Unlike constructor that can have parameters, destructor do not allow any parameters. They do not have any return type, just like constructors. It is just similar to like constructor. They don't have any return type. When you specify any destructor in class, compiler generates a default destructor when you don't specify and inserts in your code. So in this class, we have seen C++ classes and objects, the full concept, the constructor and the destructor. Hope you all got this. Go again and watch video several times and try to write the program by your own. For any types of doubts and clarification, feel free to reach us. So be safe and healthy. Enjoy your learning. Thank you and bye-bye.